Good morning, everybody. Let's stand together for a little bit of prayer and ask God to bless what we'll offer into this service today. Let's pray. God, thank you for the gorgeous day you've given us to be here. Thank you for giving us energy since we lost an hour of sleep. And so I thank you for everyone who's come this morning and said, yeah, I might be groggy, I might be tired, I might be whining about it, but I'm here today and I want to be with my church family. And so we're grateful that we get to be in your house today and talk about you and sing about you and learn about you. And we're most grateful that you're with us here today. So we pray you're blessed now as we sing and we give you this praise time to offer you as a time of worship. In Jesus' name, amen.
I can see the waters raging at my feet. I can feel the breath of those surrounding me. I can hear the sound of nations rising up. We will not be overtaken. We will not be overcome. I can walk down this dark and painful road. I can face every fear of the unknown. I can hear all God's children singing out. We will not be overtaken. We will not be overcome. The same power that rose Jesus from the grave, the same power that commands the dead to wake, lives in us, lives in us. Same power that from mountains makes trees, the same power that can calm a raging sea, lives in us, lives in us, lives in us, lives in that His promises are true in His strength. There is nothing we can't do. Yes, we know there are greater things in store. We will not be overtaken. We will not be overcome. The same power that rose Jesus from the grave, the same power that commands the dead to wake, lives in us, lives in us. Same power that puts mountains in trees, the same shower that can calm a raging sea, lives in us, lives in us, lives in us,
Have a seat, grab a bulletin. Let me point out some things that are in there and some things that are not that you need to be importantly aware of. As you came in this morning, you should have received two things. One is a church directory. We have updated and finalized our church directory. You'll notice towards the back there's a page that has some random addresses on there. We just simply got those late. The directory was already printed and got those late, and they were not automatically updated, so we didn't have that to put in there right at the beginning. But if you did not get a directory, we will print up some more. I know we ran out. So that's a great problem to have. So we ran out. So we're hoping that you took one per family or one per couple, or if you're just an individual, then you took one for yourself. But we'll get some more printed up and have those for you next week. So please take a look at those and make sure your information is correct. If for some reason the information is not correct, although we tried really hard to make sure it is, please make sure and let us know. and we'll put it in the bulletin, and you can update your own directory. Also, when you came in, you should have gotten an annual meeting report. This is actually our annual meeting weekend, so let me point out two things. First of all, we're not going to have an actual annual meeting. We've done that traditionally in the past. We're not going to do that today, but we have to have annual elections. We'll replace 2 board members. Rex is stepping off after he served his 3-year term, and we're filling another vacancy on the board, so we're replacing those 2 board members as well as voting on department leaders. So if you are a member of our church, Brenda and Jeff are ready to hand you a ballot. Would you, and you have not gotten one, would you raise your hand or stand up and please get a ballot from Brenda or Jeff? We need to get those from you today, so if you would grab a ballot, they'll hand you one. As sermon goes today, or as you're worshiping or during prayer, would you fill that out? Fill that out and vote. You're an official member. You'll notice that there's a committee section on there. You can vote yes or no to those. We're not really hung up on those, but specifically we need you to vote yes or no for the department leaders, and then you're voting for 2 board members, and then you're voting for 3 delegates each to district assembly and missions convention. So please make sure, if you have any questions about that, don't ask me now. Step back and ask Brenda and Jeff in the back. They have done this for years, so they're very well versed at it. They can handle it for you and get you that information. So please see Brenda and Jeff. They need those ballots back right away, so take a moment, fill that out, and then give it to them. Even during worship, if you need to sneak back and give it to them, then that's great. Okay, during the offering, they'll collect those. So while I'm wrapping up announcements and offering will be taken, Jeff and Brenda will collect those following the offering, and then they'll get those tallied up for us and let us know. Either at the end of service, I'll give you a total, or I'll give you the results, or get it to you next week. So that's what you need to know about that. Also, real quickly, last week we had our Faith Promise service, which was a great time getting together for the weekend. Bob Tate, our missions director, and our missions team did a fabulous job for the weekend, for the dinner and everything. Last week, during that time, you may have gotten a pledge card, because we're pledging towards our goal of $20,500 for missions giving. So far, last week, the total tally that has come in was $16,700, so that's an awesome tally already. If you have not turned in your pledge card, you said, hey, I got one last week, I couldn't be here Sunday, or I just had to go home and pray about it, please give it to Bob today. We want to finalize that tally and make sure all that information gets out to you, so you have it for, so you know where we're going, what kind of direction we're doing. Lastly, in first service this morning, we highlighted a few people. At the end of an annual church year, we always try to thank some people. And last year, or at the end of first service, we highlighted a few people that have served us well this last year. When I came here, Cheryl was our nursery director. Cheryl did a fantastic job serving our little kids in both services, sometimes on her own for a lot of time. So we gave her a little thank you card and gift card. So everybody say thank you to Cheryl. She did a fantastic job. Cheryl has now resigned from that position, so she can serve in other areas of our church. Specifically, she's on our refocus team, and she also serves on worship team. So she wants to plug into those areas, and God is using her in those ways. And so, you have a question?
Yeah, how many do you want for on both these committees?
All of them.
Oh, okay.
Yes or no?
Okay.
You just put a check. Yeah. So Cheryl has done a great job in that. Also, we noted that Rex has finished his term as 33-year term as a board member. We want to say a huge thank you to Rex. Rex is a great person when it comes to organization, and he was our church board secretary this past year, keeping minutes, doing all those things. So Rex did a fantastic job of serving us in that role. So our church board is set up that we have a 3-year term, and then you're off for a year. So Rex has fulfilled his 3-year term, and so he's now off the board, and so we'll be fulfilling those. You'll see those balloting there on your ballot. And then Brenda has taken over as our treasurer last year, and that is a task as big as this church and bigger. It's a huge, insurmountable task. We hope it's mountable, actually. She has done a fantastic job of coming in and taking our church finances and meticulously going through them and cleaning things up and organizing things and getting everything straightened out. There was a ton of work to be done that needed to be done. And Brenda is like a dog on a bone. She will tell you where the nth penny has been and gone and will be going. And she does a fantastic job. That is such an important role she takes on. Along with that, she took on the role of revamping and taking on a brand new financial system for the church, brand new computer system. So that was huge. At the same time as she was doing the same thing on a much larger scale in the mission. So she's been overwhelmed, but doing a fantastic job. So would you thank Rex and Brenda for all their work? And then last year, we had one more person on the board who is stepping off the board this year, and that is Aubrey. So, Aubrey served as our NYI president. She was one of our teens. There is one of our teens that served on NYI president's role on our board, and so she came to every board meeting every Tuesday night. She was at a board meeting where she could have been home, you know, doing her YouTube channel and cracking eggs on her head or doing different things that Aubrey likes to do. But she was here, faithfully here, presented a report, shared with the board what was going on, was able to have some input. She also serves on a refocus team. And so we just want to give this card and a little thing to Aubrey and say thank you for serving us. To go on about. If our ushers would come, we'll receive our offering and ask God to be blessed by our obedient giving and our honest giving. When we give that way, God smiles. He is so pleased when He says, hey, give to your church, give to your storehouse, and I'll bless that. And He does. He will knock your socks off with blessing, and we're excited to hear the stories that are coming in of blessing that happens. So as the ushers go past you, if you have your ballot, please hand it to Brenda and Jeff as they come down the sides with you. We've got to collect those now. We cannot take them tomorrow or during the week. They have to be turned in now. Let's pray. God, thank you for this opportunity to bless you this morning with giving. We have been doing that with worship and singing and praise and instruments and voices, and I pray that continues and that you're just pleased as you look at this church and you look at this building and you look around this valley and you see people who are your family, who are here to praise you and here to talk about you and here to love you and here to serve you and here to be together as a church family. We are part of that family, and we're grateful that you are graciously letting us worship you today. I pray you're blessed by this offering that we give, God, our tithes that we give to you, to continue the work of your kingdom here in Yakima. And we just want to thank you for the privilege of doing that. In Jesus' name, amen. Let's continue to sing this morning.
That saved a wretch like me.
an honor that we get to come into your presence. We get to be amongst your people. We get to believe that you are here because you promised to be here. So I pray that as we have sung these songs and played these instruments and read these words on the screen, God, this has been an offering to you. It hasn't been something that we just do, roads that we do because our hearts want to tell you that you are awesome and you're incredible and we are awestruck by you. That as majestic and mighty and as awesome and as powerful and as amazing as you are, you would still be not only interested but in love with your creation so much that you would care about everything we face. Every mountain that is before us that seems to not move, that you're telling us we have to climb with you. Every obstacle that seems to weigh us down to where we don't know if we can make it or breathe. God, everything that we need or every blank that we need you to fill in. God, when we said, Jesus, I need blank, and you fill it in, God, with whatever that word might be. Lord, you are well aware of it, well ahead of us and taking care of it. If we just trust you. If we just completely say, God, it's in your hands. I will walk the steps I need to walk through this path or this mountain or this situation or this issue, God. But it is in your hands. The outcome is in your control. I'm trusting you for every step I take. Lord, we sing this song. It is so sweet to trust in Jesus. But I'm reminded of the other song that says, oh, what peace we often forfeit when we don't bring these things to you. We don't come to you in prayer and say, God, we're trusting you. So God, we want that sweetness that comes with trusting you. So would you help us to have that boldness to step out and say, I don't know what the situation might bring. As the song says, I don't know what tomorrow holds. But we do know who holds tomorrow. We're trusting that our God, believing that our God is still God and we are not. That our God is still on the throne and you are still in control. As crazy as our world may be spinning out of control individually or even globally, you are still in control. God, you're in control of the hurts and the wounds that need to be healed emotionally in our lives, God, from stuff, from regular life stuff that just happens to worries and injuries and the emotional baggage that we carry. You're aware of that. And so I pray you would bring healing. God, I pray for physical healing for Susie today who can't be here, but you are with her. Her back is all messed up, Lord, and I pray you would strengthen her and release the tension in muscles. I pray for her coworker who's got cancer. I pray you would heal that person, Lord, and just deliver that from her body. God, today I pray for Treva's mom, Shirley, who's recovering from a nasty fall and broken bones and a broken neck, and pray you mend bones and heal things, God, quicker than doctors even expect, because you're God and you can do whatever you want. So we're asking you in your insane amount of power that you would just do that. God, today I pray for Devin, who's not here today because she's home with abscessed teeth, and I know Cassie's been struggling with the same thing, Lord. Pray you would just reduce swelling and reduce pain and get rid of infection and bring healing, God, in miraculous, amazing ways. God, we're grateful that we get to come as a church. And we're going to hug on each other, we're going to hold each other, we're going to laugh, we're going to cry together, because we are family. And that's what we do. And with every moment that happens, would you bind us closer and closer and deeper together? Thank you for the relationships that are growing in this place. Thank you for the connections you're making outside of this place with people that we may have not known very well, but are growing. God, I pray you continue to lead us to the people you want us to intersect with. We pray for those 5 people on our key, God, that we're praying for Easter, that you would continue to put them in our path and continue to burden us with a desire to invite them. God, there's so much to be thankful for. We just don't have time nor energy to spell it all out, but we are thankful. Thankful that through every mountain and every valley and every high and every low and every good and every tough, God, you're with us. And you never leave us. You never forsake us. And you never give up on us because you love us. Thank you for loving us, for being here today. Now speak to us and teach us as we hear you. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you. Have a seat this morning. Thank you. What can you thank you?
Can I say something?
You can.
I lived one of those things.
What are these things? Little candles. Yeah.
I won't be here next week. About 7 years ago, I rolled into this town. There's 4 people in this room right now that saw me come to the observation of the book that they have. One of the guys in here, Daryl, Butch, Michelle, Brenda. And we did that song, The Chains Are Gone. Well, I'm going to be gone. I have no chains because I can go where any free man goes now. I'll have 6 years of sobriety next Saturday. until I allowed a group of people to put their arms around me and love me until I could love myself. And God showed me that, and I get a chance to do that back. I don't do it good all the time, but I'm learning. I'm a work in progress. And when I came to this church about 3 years ago, and it was right that one person said, "Hey, can you join our worship team?" She said, "I appreciate it incredibly." I'm blessed to have those people in my life. And God can create miracles, but you're looking at one right here.
Good job, Dan. So if you don't understand what this is, many times we come in this morning, we light the candle, and that's something that actually we started. Emma might remember that from our Harrington church, so we stole that and brought that here. And so we continued that along. And so somebody lit the candle this morning, you might come in and go, "Oh, nuts, I lit the candle, somebody already beat me to it." So because we want to continue to spread praises and continue to have that happen, we're lighting these candles as well, these little battery operated ones. And something else we did at Harrington is that one service we had, we just took time to spread these candles out across the altar of praise. And so we want you to do that if you'd like to continue to do that. As you come in, you go, "Oh, the big candle's lit. Well, I'll grab another one." It wouldn't be cool if on Sunday mornings, as we caught the fire for this, no pun intended, but as this went on, that the altars were full of candles that are lit, of evidence of light shining, God's light shining in this place. You may or may not be aware, and don't please anybody jump up or go anywhere because it's being handled, but Josh is having a seizure in the back, and so we're going to stop and just pray for him. My good friend Mike Piper is an EMT, so he's there with him, and we'll sit with him and take care of him, but we're going to pray.
Pastor,
Yes, Jody.
go ahead and pray first.
Okay. God, thank you for this chance to pray for Josh. And we pray you would just physically calm his brain, calm his emotions, calm his body, and just quiet him, and just be with him, and just stop the seizure that's happening. We're just thankful that people are with him that can take care of him, and we're just thankful that you are watching out for his body. And so we pray you would protect his mind, and you would just stop the seizure right now. We believe that you are in control of what's going on, and you can physically stop it. So we would ask that in Jesus' name, by the power of Jesus Christ. You are more than seizures. You are bigger than that. And so we pray you would heal Josh, you would touch him, you would quiet his body right now, and his shaking and his convulsions would stop, and you would just begin to quiet down physically and mentally, and he would just rest. So we thank you that we can trust you for Josh today, in Jesus' name. Amen. Jody.
Okay. I didn't light a candle this morning. I probably should have, because of a praise that I have. Last week, I gave my testimony of my breathing problem, how God has touched me. And throughout all this last week, He has still been with me. And my saturations have been anywhere from 91 to 98%. Woo! I put my oxygen on. So yesterday, I thought, well, I'm going to try it without my oxygen for a while. So I took my oxygen off, did a few things around the house, came back, sat down, and my saturation was fluctuated between 91 and 93% without air, extra air. Praise God for the work that He's doing to me.
Very cool, Jody. We're excited to see that growth happen day after day. Your lungs get stronger and stronger, and God is healing you, so that's very cool. So, if you have a Bible this morning, turn to 1 Peter chapter 4. I think Josh is all right. I completely trust Mike with my own life, if not any of Josh's. So, that's pretty cool that Mike and his daughter Emma and her boyfriend Caleb are here from Harrington today. Actually, Davenport. Sorry, they're from Davenport. Emma goes to school here in YBC, and so they came in to visit us today, and we put Mike to work. So, I'm wearing a firefighter shirt. So, he's a firefighter and EMT up in Davenport where we used to live. So. Hey, if you have not been with us, we're excited that you're here, and if you have not filled out a visitor card, we'd love for you to do that. It's in your bulletin. Just fill that out, and we'd love to connect with you and say, hey, thanks for coming, and we want to be available to you if we can minister to you in any way, connect with you in any way. If you've done that previously, then you probably should have gotten a card from us and just said, thanks for coming. Can we help you at all and touch your life at all? And we want to stay in contact with you, so if you have a chance to do that. But if you've not been with us and you don't know where we've been over the last several weeks, we've been working on our mission statements. And if you remember, if you can even say with me that our mission statement is, when we talk about our mission statement, why are we talking about it? Because we want to describe what Yakima Bethel Church of the Nazarene is about. So when somebody sees Butch during the week and they say, hey, you go to that Bethel Nazarene on me, what's that church like? And they see Bob, or they see Teresa, or they see Bonnie and Dave somewhere, they can say, hey, what's your church like? And we can say, our church is a church that is opening doors, Not only are we praying for God to open doors in our community for us to reach out and go into, but that we would open our doors to our community and say, hey, anyone is welcome here. We want you to come. We invite you to come. In my annual reading report, you'll notice that I talked about us being that code black church where God sends anybody to us that He wants to, and we're going to help them and heal them and love them and serve them and take care of them and on and on and on. So we're a church that opens doors. We're a church that is loving all. So whoever God sends us, whether He sends them through our doors here or He connects us with them in our community some way, somehow, that we're going to love those people like Jesus loves them. And we're a church that patterns all that by following Jesus. We're not going to do anything without following Jesus. We're a church that is, our mission statement is simply opening doors, loving all, following Jesus. That's our mission statements. And we talked about our focus and where we're going to go with those folks. We're going to try and target people who are unconnected to our church, that have families that have children and teenagers, and that are kind of at the fringe or edge of life, because we discovered that we are a church that is passionate about that is gifted to reach those families, whether it be someone who 6 years ago, like Kenny said, was in alcohol recovery and drug abuse recovery, or it was some other kind of family member that doesn't have a job or has been through multiple divorces or gone through different things, and just having a rough time in life. We feel like as a church we're gifted and passionate about that, so that's our focus. In order to live that out, we have 6 core values that we're living out in this church. 6 things we say are essential to us, that we will not waver from, that we believe are our focus or our values, that we want to walk out and live life out in order to accomplish that mission. We talked about 2 of them already. The first one we talked about was loving relationships. And so we focused on loving each other in this place, believing that nobody outside these walls will believe that we love them if we don't first love each other in here. So we had a real special service where we had a time for you to be able to move and go someplace and talk to somebody and have some restoration happen, some healing happen, and some forgiveness happen, and we talked about that. And we had a communion service together. It was a special time. And then the next week we talked about expectant prayer. That was our second core value. So we're going to believe that in order to fulfill our mission, we have to have loving relationships in here. We also believe that we have to be a church that is expecting God to answer prayer, expecting God to hear our prayers, expecting that when we talk to Him, we have conversation back and forth with Him, that He hears us, and He promises to hear us, and He talks to us, and He speaks to us, and we listen and we hear Him as well as He hears us. Today we're going to talk about joyful serving. It's up on the screen for you. It's also on the back of your bulletin. If you're a note taker, on the back of your bulletin is also a spot where you can fill in some blanks. I gave you that so you can fill in the definition of joyful serving. I'm excited about this message today because serving Jesus should be a joyful thing. It should be something we get excited about. It should be an opportunity where we say, wow, what an amazing thing that I get to be the hands and the feet of Jesus to someone who needs me. Whether that means I simply serve them a cup of coffee on my kitchen table in an evening when I'd rather go to bed, or it means that I give them a ride somewhere, or it means I serve in this building in some particular way, or it means a variety of things that we could spend till Christmas talking about all the ways that you could serve Jesus and serve the people He puts in your life. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. So in the back of your bulletin is a fill-in-the-blank for you. I'll put the definition up on the screen. When we came together as a refocus team and looked at these core values, we wanted to make sure we defined them accurately about the way we believe them to be filled out. So we said, we believe as followers of Jesus, we are called to be servants for the glory of God. We eagerly seek to meet the needs of our community and beyond, serving all people with a joyful heart. Now let me go back and look at those underlined words for a moment because they're important, and I underlined them and left them blank for you to fill in because I wanted to focus on them just briefly. We believe that we need to be followers of Jesus when we serve Him. In other words, we're not just going to go willy-nilly to do whatever we want and because it sounds cool, or because it's the latest thing that the big church down the street is doing, or because it's something that is in curriculum or it's some fancy program. We're going to do what Jesus tells us to do. We're going to go where Jesus told us to go. We're going to live and love like Jesus told us to live and love. So we're going to follow Jesus' pattern, Jesus' example of how to serve. And Jesus was the ultimate servant. We'll see that in a little bit when we talk about following Jesus and being servants of Jesus. We also believe that we need to be serving joyfully. And we don't just do this out of ritual or out of obligation or because I have to or because I get brownie points and I can check it off my Christian list of things to do. We're serving Jesus because it's a joyful thing. It's a pleasure and a privilege, and we'll talk more about that in a few moments. Tom Rainer is a church leadership guy who writes a lot of books and a lot of articles on things about church leadership and church statistics and pastoral things and ministries things. And anyway, he's a kind of statistician kind of guy. And he said this about membership and serving in the church. He said the concept of an inactive church member is an oxymoron. Biblically, no such church member really exists. Now, we use that term, inactive church member. If you voted today, you're an active church member. If you voted in our annual election, you're a member of our church, you're an official member of our church, and you've actively been involved in our church for a period of time, or you've recently joined as official members, like several of you did, 7 of you did this year, which was exciting. And so you're an active church member. Technically, there is a term called an inactive church member. That means that if you are a member of our church, but you have not been attending or been actively enrolled or being part of things that are going on in our church for the last 6 months, you become inactive. But what Rainer's saying is simply this. We're not talking about local church membership. He's saying, hey, if you're going to be a follower of Jesus, there's no such thing as an inactive follower of Jesus. You need to be actively serving him and actively filling that role. We're going to discover the background for that quote when we take a look at James and what James had to say in the book of James in relation to faith and works and how they have to essentially be connected. Have you ever thought about serving in the church? Maybe some of you do that already and you're faithfully and frequently doing that, and that's great. And I don't want to add more to your plate or cause you more conviction because you're doing plenty already, and I would not question that. But for all of us, it's a good reminder to check and say, what am I doing for God? Whether it's in this building, in this church, or it's outside this church and in our community, are you actively serving Jesus Christ? Have you thought about serving him? Often people get hung up and they go, well, I can't serve God because I don't have the Bible college degree. Or I've never been to seminary. Or I've never had a formal education. You have to be educated, you have to be qualified to do those things. You know what I've discovered? From cover to cover in this book, I have yet to find someone who's qualified or was qualified to do the things that God asked them to do. Rarely did he. Now you can say to me, well, you know what, Pastor? Matthew was a tax collector and Luke was a doctor. Yes, they had formal education in those areas and those jobs. I get it. And I'm not knocking formal education. I did my time as well. Sonia and I both graduated with degrees from Bible college. Bob's done formal education. Brenda and Diane have done formal education for their ordinations. Pastor Gary has done that. I'm not knocking that in any way. I'm simply saying that don't get hung up on what you don't have. Let's stop getting stuck there. J.S. Stewart was a minister in the Church of Scotland, and he once said this: "It is thrilling to discover that God chooses human weakness and humiliation, not human strength and confidence, to accomplish his purposes in the world. He can use us, not merely in spite of our ordinariness and helplessness and disqualifying infirmities, but precisely because of them. Nothing can defeat those who offer to God not their strength, but their weakness to be his weapon. But God has chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty, that no flesh should glory in his presence." Cover to cover, we have stories of men and women who should have been disqualified because they were not qualified, or because of their history, or because of their roles, or because of their jobs, or because they were murderers and liars and adulterers and prostitutes and tax collectors and cheats and all of the other reasons why we could have said no to them. But yet, God chose them. I'm reminded, it's not even in my notes, just came to my mind, love the story of Nicky Cruz. If you ever read the book, Run Baby Run. And Wilkerson, his pastor, wrote this book called Cross and Switchblade. If you haven't read the book, powerful book. If you want to watch a cheesy, corny 70s movie about it, you can watch it with, what's his name? Eric Estrada. Punch, the Chips guy. Anyway, in the movie, you know what hooked Nicky Cruz? Wilkerson, the pastor, invites him to a revival, and he comes. You know what he has him do? He has the gang leader take the offering. And he stops at the end of the offering. And here's these guys with baskets full of money. Gang leaders with baskets full of money. They could have slipped out the door. And the hook was, what caught him, what stopped him. And he stopped and he gave the money back to Wilkerson. And his heart instantly began to open. And his life instantly began to change. Because somebody looked at him and said, yes, the world may say you're unqualified, or may even say you're disqualified to do these roles in the kingdom of God. But God does not disqualify you. Jesus Christ died to qualify you. Maybe you've thought about serving God in some particular way and you've wondered, well, what can I do? How would God use me? What particular thing has He gifted you to do? Or given you talents and interests and abilities to do? What is it that you can do that for God? I have heard some of the most creative and out-of-the-box things that you can imagine of people who did stuff for Jesus Christ, and ministries were formed, and lives were touched. I heard the story of some men who were mechanically gifted and had ability in automobile repair. I don't have that. I'm not gifted that way, that's why I have Dave. Because Dave is, and he knows stuff. In Harrington, I had two guys named Joel and Brian. They were my saviors, because one was a Chevy mechanic, one was a Honda mechanic, and I had Chevys and Hondas, and they saved me. Because I always say, what I know about fixing cars can fit in a thimble, and thimbles have holes, so it seeps out rather quickly. So I don't know much. But these guys had this knowledge to be able to fix cars and work on vehicles, and they were pretty good at it. So they decided that what they would do was that on a Saturday every month, they would come down to the church, and they would be there, and they'd be willing for single parents and elderly people to bring their vehicles, and they would change their oil, and they'd rotate their tires, and they'd bleed their brakes, and they'd fix little things that they could fix. Not major repairs, we're not rebuilding transmissions in the front yard of the church, we're doing little things that they could do for free to minister to these people who didn't want to go pay 70 or 80 or 100 bucks an hour for the mechanic. And it was a ministry that was born out of something they were simply gifted and talented with, and had knowledge and ability about, and God used it. We know of a lady in the Carson Nazarene Church where Sonia grew up, and we ministered there for 5 years doing youth ministry. She's an incredible gardener. Got a garden bigger than the sanctuary, huge garden. You go in there and it's like the Garden of Eden. There's flowers everywhere, and the woman can't kill anything if you grow anything. And she's just amazing. And so she chose that with all these abundance of flowers and all these things that she had, she decided she would decide to start making different bouquets for the services. So at the front of their church, they had a little table, and every Sunday when you come in, there's a new arrangement there, a new flower arrangement that she would make for the service. Now when it was wintertime, she didn't have flowers, she'd do dried flowers or she'd do fake flowers, but she still made the arrangement. She did the flowers for our wedding, she would do flowers for funerals, for families that needed them. Because she had a gift and an ability that God had given her, and she used that to serve her church, to serve people. There was a guy in the same church, he owned a printing business. So he would print the bulletins for a while for the church. So he did, as he did it for his own business. He always said, oh, I can do this. I can print bulletins for my church too. Why not? Why not use what God has given you? In 2001, Sonia and I met a man who was a man normally of very few words. Very quiet, hardworking man. He never spoke in front of the church. He never taught a Sunday school class. He was never up in front of the church in any prominent position. Never held that role. He was a logger by trade, and he was raised and lived off the land and the forest all of his life. He always used to say he could never talk to somebody about Jesus, but he could talk to a tree. Just was really kind of a quiet guy. In 1978, White Salmon Pinecrest Church of the Nazarene was given some land. If you know where White Salmon is, Bingen is the city that's down on the highway, on Highway 14. White Salmon sits up above it on, I don't know what the highway is, but you got to go up the hill to get to White Salmon. And if you drive up into White Salmon, you'll see off to the left there's a building that looks like a church, which is now a veterinary clinic. Because it was once a church. It was the Nazarene Church in White Salmon, which is now a vet clinic. In fact, I was told that if you go in there, there's still a church pew in the waiting room where you can go and sit. Well, at that same time in 78, the church was given some property up around the corner a little ways and up behind the hospital. And attending the church was a man named Ed Grove. Ed was the logger. Ed was the guy, I have told stories about Ed in every church I've served in, told stories about Ed here. Ed was the guy who was a logger. And do you think God could use a woodsman who most of his day was spent running a chainsaw or a skidder or choking logs or whatever you do on Axemen? I don't know what you do. You got to watch the show to figure it out. I didn't understand any of it when I got there. But that was most of his day, running a steel chainsaw all day long. Came home smelling like wood and gas and oil. How could God use that? There's no chainsaws in the Bible. Yet in 78, some land was given, and a church needed a place to go, and a church needed a bigger building. So Ed would tell you, where he's still alive today, the story of getting logs on a place called Coldest Creek. In 1978, the land was given. In the winter of 78-79, Ed Grove and his pastor Bob went up to Coldest Creek, with a skidder in the middle of the winter. They had to light a fire on the block engine to keep the diesel from gelling up. And they pulled the logs out of Colas Creek, and by November 7th, 1979, this church was standing. November 17th, 1979. It's a Nehemiah story. Whenever I think about this story, I think about the story of Nehemiah and rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem in 52 days. And these guys began logging in winter of 78, 79, and by November, they were meeting in the fellowship area because the building was being built. Because a man who had no formal education, who never taught a Sunday school class, who was not a pastor, not a preacher, never stood in front of the church, never played an instrument or sang a song, but could run a chainsaw, logs and logs, and built a church. 37 years later, the church still stands there. This was our first church in White Salmon. In 2001, we became pastors there. In 2010, we left to go to Harrington. 5 years later, we came here. This Saturday, we will say goodbye to Ed at that church as he died this last week. Sonny and I are leaving right after service to head down and meet with his family and prepare his service. I'm so honored to be able to do this service. There's rarely things in a church family that you get to do that are more honoring to me as a pastor than saying goodbye to somebody you care so much about. And as much as I am pleased and honored to do it, in the last year it's kind of been too much, huh? So, what a blessing though, what an honor for me to say goodbye to the people that mean so much in our lives. And Ed is one of those guys. So we'll meet with his family tomorrow. But he had no formal education. Raised at the feet of his father, running a chainsaw. And a church stands because of it. Because he was willing just to say, I'll serve. Don't get hung up on what you think you can't do. Let's not let no become our rapid response. We often say no to so much, to too many opportunities. We say no to so many things that God wants to use us and flow through us with so that somebody would know that Jesus Christ loves them. Now, Ed would never take all of the credit, but no doubt that church is there and people have come to know Jesus Christ because he was willing to serve and get some logs in the middle of winter and build a building. People became Christians because Ed Grove served. And we can tell stories of thousands of Ed Groves all over the world, no doubt. In every church there's an Ed Grove. But the point is, why do we so quickly say no and think I can't because or I shouldn't because? Why don't we err on the side of saying yes and let God fill in the rest and let God take care of the questions and let God take care of the blanks we don't have and let God take care of the uncertainties and all those things? Why don't we err on the side of saying, okay, God, we used to sing this little song, didn't we? I'll say yes, Lord, yes, to your will and to your way. I'll say yes, Lord, yes, I will trust you and obey. But I don't know if I should or I could. And we get stopped in our tracks. My favorite life verse is Joshua 3:5. Joshua's preparing the Israelites to enter the promised land. They got to cross the Jordan River at flood stage. We've kind of seen a little bit of that lately around town. Flood stage was not, it'd be like stepping off the balcony and plunk, you're done. In the water. Flood stage water. And he gathered them all up and he said in Joshua chapter 3 verse 5, consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow God will do amazing things among you. It's a verse I discovered preaching in White Salmon and it's stuck with me ever since. I love that verse because it reminds me that I'm not an Israelite today, but I'm a follower of Jesus today. And if I consecrate or I give my life, I dedicate my life to Jesus Christ and say, God, you use me. All my failures, all my frailties, all my mistakes, all my messes, all my stuff, you use me. And if I turn my life over to you like that, amazing things can happen. Not because Jim Beattie is so fantastic, but because God is so fantastic. And he will do things through our lives if we just give our lives to him. Let's not get hung up on saying, no, I don't think I can, or I should, or I could. Being a follower of Jesus is not a spectator sport. There are no bench sitters. When you decide, I'm going to follow Jesus Christ, I'm going to be a servant of his, I'm going to do what he did, and go where he goes, and love like he does, and live like he lives, you're varsity. Starting string. You are in the game. And we are to serve and to love like he did. Noah was 600 years old when he built the ark. Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac was born. Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were young Jewish men who desired to honestly and with holiness and righteousness serve their God. Young men So extreme age isn't a limitation, neither is young age. King David was 30 years old when he became king. He served for 40 more years. When we say no to God, not only are we not being obedient, we are discounting what God can do through us. We are stopping him and saying, no, God, I don't think you could. That's dangerous territory to be in. You might say, Pastor Jim, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do much. I don't even know where to serve. I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of talent. There was an elderly lady of wealth, and she gave liberally to provide services for the poor in a mission in London. She was deaf, but nevertheless, she was radiant and joyful as a Christian. She faithfully attended the services of that mission, and one night she was there, and a visiting minister said to her, "What do you do here at the mission?" And she said, "Oh, okay, I'll tell you what I do." She said, "I smile them in and I smile them out." And the minister exclaimed, "How valuable is such service in a place like this where so many are downcast and discouraged?" Frederick Faber, the hymn writer, said, "The colored sunsets and starry heavens, the beautiful mountains and the shining seas, the fragrant woods and painted flowers, are not half so beautiful as the life that is serving Jesus because of love for him and others, serving in the wear and tear of common, unpoetic life, the muck and the mire of life." A humble servant girl applied for membership in Dr. Jowett's church. "What are you doing for the Lord?" he asked. She replied, "Well, my hours are long and I seldom have time off to attend church, but I always take home a daily newspaper with me in my bedroom at night. I turn to the births, the marriages, and the deaths. I pray for the little babies that they will come early to Jesus. I pray for the newlyweds that they will be true to God and to each other. And I pray for the bereaved ones, commending them to the healer of broken things, Jesus." "What a great work you are doing for the Lord," said Dr. Jowett. A prominent judge was asked by his pastor to teach a class of junior boys in Sunday school. He declined, saying, "I'm too busy." Later, he accepted the responsibility and said to the pastor, "It was sheer pride that made me refuse. I thought I was too great a man to teach a class of boys. I have tried to play the distinguished Christian gentleman role, and I have been worthless to God's kingdom." Did you hear that? He said, "I have tried to play the distinguished Christian gentleman role, and I have been worthless to God's kingdom." After a year, the judge said, "Teaching these boys has been the greatest thing that has ever happened to me. I never knew the joy of service before." Being a follower of Jesus is not a spectator sport. If you give your life to being used by Jesus and for others to know Jesus, there's nothing God can't do through you. 1 Peter chapter 4, if you're there, you can read with me. I'm going to read to you from the Message Bible. I doubt that many of you or if any of you have the Message Bible. I just love the way Peterson interprets this. So you can kind of follow along as best you can with 1 Peter 4. You can read it later on in your NIV or King James or whatever your version is. But I like what Peterson has to say in this passage. And it's kind of small on your screen, so you'll listen to me. He writes, "Everything in the world is about to be wrapped up, so take nothing for granted. Stay wide awake in prayer. Most of all, love each other as if your life depended on it. Love makes up for practically anything. Be quick to give a meal to the hungry, a bed to the homeless, cheerfully. Be generous with the different things God gave you, passing them around so all get in on it. If words, let it be words. If help, let it be God's hearty help. That way, God's bright presence will be evident in everything through Jesus. And he'll get all the credit as the one mighty in everything. On course to the end of time, oh yes." The NIV Bible says that we should use whatever gift we have received to serve others. However God has given you an ability, or a talent, or a knowledge, or insights, or a passion, or a desire, use that to serve someone else. I can't do it all. I have a role as a pastor, and that accompanies many things, much of them prominent in front of you so you see me doing things. And sometimes a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that you don't see. But I can't do everything. I cannot, and you do not want me playing the piano nor singing behind the microphone. I have no ability to do that. I can do Mary Had a Little Lamb, and that's all I know how to do. I would love to be able to play the drums like Duel or Lee can. I can't do it. The legs, the feet, they don't move at the same time. It's very awkward. I can do a little cadence that we used to do in high school, and that's it. I don't have those gifts and abilities. And that's okay because I don't need to have them. Because God has gifted someone else with those abilities and those talents. And they're being used to serve. Whether it's serving here, or it's serving outside at a service somewhere, or it's serving at the Union Gospel Mission on Saturday or Friday nights, wherever it is, you're using those gifts and abilities. You have different things that I can't do. Just like not all of you are asked to be pastor of this church. Trust me, handling one is plenty for you. You don't need 10 more of them. That's enough headache for you. So you don't need that. We only need to have one. But we need the rest of us to be doing the work. My role is to equip the saints for what? For service. So we go out and we serve and we do things. Jesus was our greatest example of someone who came and had every right to have servants, didn't he? He had every reason to have servants. He's king, almost. He's the king of Son of God. And if anybody could have had people waiting on him and serving him and giving to him and doing all these things for him, it was Jesus Christ. Yet he said this. He said, the Son of Man did not come to be served. Excuse me. Did not come to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. When was the last time you remember a king serving his people? Or a king dying for his people? I firmly believe that serving, doing something, giving something, offering time, even money, being a listener, action is the greatest expression of Jesus Christ's love. Service, doing something with what we're talking about. If we're just going to talk about it and say all the right Christian things and flap our gums about how we love the world and we want to go out and reach people and we want to save the lost, but if all we're doing is talking about it, it's just lip service, and pretty soon the world gets tired of that. In fact, the millennials, we talk about millennials, that's what draws them to a church and to Jesus Christ. Is being able to take what they're learning and put it into action and apply it somewhere and serve and give and love and do something with what we're learning. It's an exciting thing. This past week, Diana and I went to a church school partnership meeting with Yakima School District. That's not something you hear very often. That should have been in the news. The church and the school had a meeting about partnering together. That's exciting. It should be happening. And so we went there, and we were invited to go there. In fact, a friend of mine who's in my fire department is actually also the principal at Bethel Elementary. And so he said, hey, are you going to this? I said, I didn't know about it. He said, well, then you ought to go. And I said, okay, I'm going. So I grabbed Diane, because she's kind of our point person for Hoover, and we went. And around the table, it was a rather full room. In fact, they talked about how we're going to have to get a bigger room, which is a cool problem to have. We were sitting around the room, and around the table were church leaders and faith-based denominations and different people who were there. Andy from Transform Yakima was there. There's a movement in our community that's working to bring all these things together, and he's a part of that role. School district people were there. Principals were there. Educators were there. As we all sat around the table, we talked about, here's a school with a need, and here's a church with help, and we don't know how to bring the two together. So now we simply just asked a question, hey, can we come help you? So we just stopped the problem by just asking a question. I think it's almost as simple as that, but I understand that sometimes you don't know if the church wants to help, and the church doesn't know if we're allowed to help, so there's some hiccups, but we sat around that table and we talked. And in that meeting, Omar, the Yakima School District guy, he opened up the conversation. He says, hey, does anybody around the table, either from churches or from schools, want to share about what's been going on in your schools or in your churches and how this has come together and how this has happened? And so the conversation started out, and a couple of people talked what they had to say. And Diane and I didn't say anything because suddenly Luz, who is the principal at Hoover Elementary, that's our school, Luz spoke up. And she began to talk about our back-to-school nights. When we went there, and we took our regular back-to-school program that happens out here in the yard, we took that, and we took it over to Hoover Elementary, and we served a gazillion hot dogs and tons of cotton candy, and we did snow cones, and we did crafts, and we met hundreds of people we never connected with before, and for this pastor, strangers to me. Nobody I knew walking through those doors as a student or an educator had I ever met in my life before. That's godly connections, intentional. And we went and we served them. And you know what she said about that night? She said that was the best back-to-school open house night Hoover Elementary has ever had. 40 of us stood up wearing those shirts that Dwayne has on today, our white Yakima Bethel shirts, and we came in, and guess what? We didn't pray. We didn't take an offering. Oh my goodness. We didn't have a Bible study or devotional. None of that's bad. We just went in, and one of the guys in the meeting said, we weren't weird, You gotta be careful when you go to school. They don't want weird people. So we weren't weird. We went in and we just served. And we gave them stuff. And we greeted them. And we laughed with them. And we served with them. And we loved them. And we simply, but in a profound way, made a difference that day. Because 40 of you on that evening said, hey, I'll serve. I'll go. That's joyful serving. I absolutely believe that one evening can make a bigger impact in that school, and it has, than a lot of what we do inside these four walls that we think we have to do. Now, everything we do in here is not wrong. The fact that we're gathered here today is important. You've got to build the church. You've got to be healthy. In the fire department, we always talk about you've got to be healthy yourself before you run into the fire to save somebody else. Because you'll die. You don't need two victims in there, right? So we've got to be healthy here. And so it's important that we do the things we do here to build each other up and encourage each other and pray together and stand together and cry together and laugh together and learn together. So that we are healthy to go out there and save the world together. That's what we are called to do by serving people. That's what Jesus did. But we can't get hung up and just get stuck here by saying, well, I don't know if I should. You mean you don't know if you should make hot dogs? I don't know if I could squirt stuff on shaved ice. And I'm being facetious here, I'm being funny, but I'm making a point. Don't we say, I don't know if I could? Why not? Let's not get so hung up on what you can't do or you shouldn't do. John Wesley once said, do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, and as long as you can. That's what we should be doing. Here's an example already. How many of you, growing up, as a child, ever attended Vacation Bible School? Show hands. Vacation Bible School. Many hands in the room. How many of you were raising your children, brought your kids to a Vacation Bible School? Okay, how many of you taught or served in a Vacation Bible School? All right, we have one coming up in August. Last year, I should have said keep your hands up and how many years. I should have said hands stay up and then they'll volunteer, right? Last year we did not have Vacation Bible School. You know why? We didn't have volunteers. We ran out of people. People said, I don't know if I can, I don't know if I should, I don't have time, da, da, da. And I get it. Some of you have jobs, 40-hour-week jobs you have to be at. You can't be here. I understand that. But if 40 of us can show up at Hoover Elementary in our fancy white t-shirts and serve hot dogs for a couple hours on one evening, could 10 or 12 of us show up here for a few hours in a week in the middle of summer where parents are looking for a place for their children to go that is safe and will teach them positive things even if they won't call it godly things? I think we can handle that. Right now, we're looking for help. Right now, Diane will sign you up. Sonia will help you figure out where you can serve. And it may be simply squirting juice on shaved ice. Or it might be sitting into class with Diane and helping her do science projects. Or it might be coming up here and helping Sonia lead singing. Or it might be, hey, I'll be the director of the thing as long as you give me soldiers to direct. But we need you to serve the people that God is sending us through our open doors, that He wants to intentionally connect us with, so that children will fill this place, so that families will fill this place. And I know you're going to say, well, I'm just too busy, or my plate's too full, and we always use all those fancy phrases that we like to use a lot. And I'm not telling you, if you are serving God already, and you're active in the church, you're actively serving Him somewhere outside the church, I'm not asking you to put more on your plate. I'm really not. I firmly believe that God would never, ever, ever call us to sacrifice family or marriage for ministry. So please let's not get that confused. But let's also not use that as an excuse not to serve Him either. Because it is easy to go home and just sit on the couch. Day in and day out, day in and day out. And you're going to tell me, Pastor Jim, isn't there a verse in the Bible that tells us it's not our works that saves us, it's our faith? It's by grace we're saved. I'll say, yeah, that's true. That's found in Ephesians chapter 2. Paul wrote to the church at Ephesus and said, for it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. In other words, nobody gets to say, look at me, I'm saved because of all I do. Nobody gets to say that. Or nobody gets to say, I'm saved because my job is more important than yours. Nobody gets to say that. But in other words, what Paul is saying here is that they have to come together. Those two things coincide together. Our works don't save us, and our faith doesn't sit us. So don't think that because you're saved, you don't have to do anything. And don't think the things you do will save you either. In James chapter 2, he wrote very specifically about this. Jump there with me real quickly if you want. I know we're running out of time, but we want to get to this morning because it's important. James does a really good job of balancing the difference, balancing the connection, the cohesiveness between faith and works, because they have to come together, and one inspires the other, and we do one because of the other. James chapter 2, verse 14. I can't put it all on the screen for you, so we'll just find the reference there. And James writes, "What good is it, my brothers, if a man claims to have faith, but has no deeds? Can such faith save him? Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to him, 'Go, I wish you well, keep warm and well fed,' but does nothing about his physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself is not, if it is not accompanied by action, it is dead." Faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, it is dead. But someone will say, "You have faith, and I have deeds. Show me your faith without deeds, and I will show you my faith by what I do. You believe that there is one God. Good. Even the demons believe that and shudder. You foolish man, do you want evidence that faith without deeds is useless? Was not our ancestor Abraham considered righteous for what he did when he offered his son Isaac on the altar? You see that his faith and his actions were working together, and his faith was made complete by what he did. And the scripture was fulfilled that says, Abraham believed God, and it was credited to him as righteousness. And he was called God's friend. You see that a person is justified by what he does, and not by faith alone. In the same way, was not even Rahab the prostitute considered righteous for what she did when she gave lodging to the spies and sent them off in a different direction? As the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without deeds is dead. In other words, you can know what you want to know and believe what you want to believe and be absolutely right about what you know and what you believe. But if you don't use it, if you don't share it, don't give it, don't love with it, what good is it? What's the point? If I keep it all to myself. The Message Bible begins verse 14 of James like this. Dear friends, do you think you'll get anywhere in this life if you learn all the right words but never do anything? Does merely talking about faith indicate that a person really has it? Ooh. Do you know why you're a Christian today? Or why you're a follower of Jesus today? Do you know why, maybe if you're not one of those two things, which are actually the same thing, if you're not, you know why you're here today? It's because somebody served you. Someone invited you. Someone picked you up. Someone wrote you a sermon. Someone shared a Bible story or a Bible verse with you. Someone listened and encouraged you. Someone built this church. Someone practiced and shared music. Someone gave money to provide the materials to build a church, or to have chairs to sit on, or carpet to stand on, or Bibles to hold. Someone taught a Sunday school class. Someone led a Bible study. Someone told you about Jesus. Someone invited you here. Someone served you. You're here because someone served. Someone in some way, somewhere, somehow served. Shouldn't you? Shouldn't I? So what can you do? Well, what do you do? Not what can you do, what do you do? Let's ask that question. What has God given you the ability to do and a passion to do, and what could you do with that? You may say, I don't know. But I firmly believe if we say, God, I don't know, but I believe you do, then that blows the doors off the box. And we get out of the box and we begin to do things that God we would never expect, but God could orchestrate. And God could create. And God could have us do. And maybe you honestly will say, Pastor Jim, I just don't know what to do. And that is my job to help you discover that. And you and I can sit and have a conversation over a cup of coffee or a glass of iced tea, and we're going to talk about it and say, hey, Dave, what do you like to do? What does God give you a passion to do? And he says, hey, I love to ride motorcycles. Well, let's talk about that. How could God use that as a ministry? Riding Harleys up and down the highway all day long. There's no Harleys in the Bible. There were camels and donkeys. They didn't have hogs. So they didn't have that. But could God use that? Absolutely. Sure. Gene, they did have horses in the Bible, so maybe there's something there that God could use. I don't know. But there's stuff. God has gifted you. Let's ask Him, Lord, what would you want to do with me? And then be ready to hang on for the amazing things He wants to accomplish through you. Now, you might even go as far as to say, well, Pastor Jim, isn't that your job to do the work of the church? Isn't that why Brenda cuts you a check every week? Is that what you get paid to do? Yeah? But no. Yes, as an individual, I am called and responsible to do things for Jesus Christ, as a follower of Jesus Christ, as a man, as a husband, as a father, as a son. Yes. Without my pastor hat on. With my pastor hat on, I have responsibilities to do, yes, still serve him, but also to equip the saints and help you learn how to serve him. So I will help you. In your bulletin today, if you want to look at your bulletin, there are ideas of things you could do. You would say, I don't know the clue, I've got a brain freeze. You look at your bulletin, we threw in some things of things you could do. Get creative. Maybe you're like the world's best pie maker. You make the most knockdown, drag-out, best strawberry rhubarb pie. Your pastor loves strawberry rhubarb pie. But also, so does your neighbor. So does your neighbor. So invite your neighbor over for a pie. And just get to know them. Let's not put all the no's and conditions and what ifs and buts and I should and I couldn't, I don't know what to do on it. Just make pie. Let's not complicate it so much to say, well, I don't have an REV in front of my name. Or I don't have this certificate. Or I don't have this schooling. Ed Grove had a chainsaw. A chainsaw. That's what he had. You think Daniel ever thought when he was out there swinging that sling around for hours on end, taking care of these dumb sheep, that he would ever one day stand before Goliath, the Philistine leader, and knock him down with that sling? He didn't have a clue that was coming. But God took a talent that he had gifted him with and had created him with and used it. Finally, let's remember Paul's simple but profound words to the church at Rome. Romans chapter 12, verse 1. I'm going to skip it from there. I can read it from that one. Paul's talking to the church at Rome, and he says, finally, brothers, offer your bodies as living sacrifices to God. This is your holy and pleasing act of worship. Paul is telling the Roman church to say before God, here I am, God, take me, use me, make me, use me, shape me, mold me, whatever you want to do with me. One of my favorite songs in the early 80s, 90s, when I first became a Christian, was by a group called Harvest. I don't know if you remember Harvest. They sang a song called All That Is In Me. And the chorus says, all that is in me, all that I am, there's nothing I'm withholding from you. I put it on YouTube, or on Facebook yesterday if you want to go back and listen to it. Google it, YouTube it, Skype it, whatever you do with it. Awesome, powerful song that talks about just giving our lives over to God, taking off the reins, and hanging on for the ride. Believing that God can do anything through us. Anything with us, if we're willing just to serve him. Again, let me close by saying I'm not asking you to do more if you're already doing something for Jesus. I'm not telling you you should be doing more and more and more than you already are. I'm not piling more work on your plate or thinking somehow that you're earning brownie points for God and he'll be pleased if you do more. What God is asking me and all of us is, are we serving him? And many times and in many ways, I can point to many of you, if not all of you, and say, yes, you are. And I'm pleased. When I see these altars fill up, and I see people come behind them that are crying and pray with them, that's serving Jesus. And I'm a proud pastor to stand there and stand back and let God use you. You don't need me. You're doing what God's gifted you to do already. With compassion and empathy and prayer and support and encouragement. Let me close with this old song of the church that comes to mind. It says this. Take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, to thee. Take my moments and my days, let them flow in endless praise. Take my hands and let them move at the impulse of thy love. Take my feet and let them be swift and beautiful for thee. Take my voice and let me sing, always only for my King. Take my lips and let them be filled with messages from thee. Take my silver and my gold, not a mite would I withhold. Take my intellect and use every power as thou shalt choose. Take my will and make it thine, it shall be no longer mine. Take my heart, it is thine own, it shall be thy royal throne. Take my love, my Lord, I pour at thy feet its treasure store. Take myself and I will be ever only all for thee. You are here because someone served. Someone, in some way, somehow, somewhere, served. Shouldn't we? Let's pray. God, thank you for the privilege of being your hands and your feet to a world that needs to know you and know the help and the hope of Jesus Christ in their life. What an honor it is to be chosen to be used by you. This was your plan all along, that we would be the plan A. We would be the ones to go out and serve like Jesus served and love like Jesus loves. To touch lives through giving and loving and serving. God, would you challenge us if we're not doing that? Convict us even, more importantly, if we're not doing that. And then beyond that, Lord, blow off all of the no's and the I don't think I coulds and I don't think I shoulds. All of the preconceived notions about why we couldn't or shouldn't do some things for you. Would you begin to create in our mind a desire and a heart to serve you in any way, just to turn our lives completely over to you and say, God, all that is in me, all that I am, there's nothing I'm withholding from you, and I'm completely turning my life over to you, however you want to use it, in service for you. God, put opportunities in front of us. Strengthen us in the areas we're already serving. Bless those, God, who serve so faithfully in this place. Bless the things that we pray. We would ask for your blessing on the things that are coming up in this church that we're going to do. Like another opportunity to Hoover in a few weeks, and a VBS this summer, and different things where we will serve people so that we would have an opportunity to connect with them and build a relationship with them and love them and share Jesus with them. God, I pray that in everything we're doing, we're not just out on a whim doing stuff, but we are following Jesus. And you are pleased. Thank you for being here today and for challenging us, for always loving us, and for going with us now. We pray you'll be pleased by everything that's been said and done in this entire service. We give you the rest of our day of worship. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.